Hello and welcome to the Daily Debrief, where we take a closer look at today's big story. I'm Jordan Gartner, and today we are unfortunately talking about stomach viruses going around. Abel Garcia is covering this topic, and Abel, it is kind of that time of year when we're looking at colder weather, but what are you finding around town?
Definitely, Jordan. So there's something that's going around town that's been impacting lots of individuals, and primarily a lot of those younger kiddos as well. So what it's called, it's enterovirus and adenovirus, and there's two very common stomach illnesses that are here in the area that we've just kind of been seeing a wave of this, and a lot of pediatricians and doctors have been telling me that it's pretty common. Right around this time of year when we're seeing a lot of flu seasons coming around as well. We're seeing a lot of diseases and illnesses that are hitting the valley as well too. But this one in primarily has been pretty intense. And the people who are getting this, I mean, I spoke to a mother who had all five of them, her family of five, all got the illness themselves. And they were dealing with, very uncontrollable vomiting and diarrhea. And it was just very difficult for them. But so far, that's what we've been seeing for the past month or so. And right now, doctors are just trying to, allow families to do everything they can to try to prevent to get this illness as well.
Gotcha. My goodness. All right. And is it affecting more of the youngsters around town? I know you mentioned the family, but did it start kind of with the children in the home?
Yeah, so she told me that it started off with her oldest son, and then he brought it back to the household, and that's when it just started spreading like wildfire throughout the whole home, right? So, but then the one who was impacted the most was her 5-year-old son. And so we're seeing that this is mostly, relevant to younger children, and the reason why is because they have weaker immune systems. So, of course, these kiddos who don't have the same, antibodies or the same immunity to some of these illnesses, they get impacted a little bit harder. Now, adults can also get it. I mean, especially around this time of year where we're getting other colds, other, illnesses. It's very common, and you can definitely see some of those GI symptoms as well. But it's mostly those children, those kiddos who are more at risk.
Gotcha. All right. I know you mentioned a few of the symptoms, but any key symptoms maybe for us to be on the lookout for, or any families, and of course, gosh, anything to maybe take over the counter to help out?
Of course, and one thing that's super concerning right now is that they're actually very similar symptoms to COVID-19. And that's one thing that doctors really want to stress, that as soon as you start getting some of these symptoms, they're very similar to those fever-like symptoms, your sore throats, you have some headaches, you have, of course, the nausea, diarrhea. All of these things are very common symptoms, which can also be found to COVID-19. So as soon as you start to get those symptoms, these medical professionals are asking that you get tested as soon as you can, make sure that it's not COVID-19. If it is, then take the steps necessary to try to get treatment for it. If you find out that it is one of these viruses that I had talked about before, make sure that you're staying as hydrated as possible. I mean, they're recommending Pedialyte. They're also recommending Gatorade with extra electrolytes. Depending on the age, of course, if it's a younger kiddo, you want to go for the Pedialyte. It's more healthy for them. If it's kind of a mid-range kiddo to, teenager, then you can definitely go for something that has tons of electrolytes like Gatorade or something like else like that as well. Now, there is another type of medication that you can get over the counters, but it would be preferable to first go with your pediatrician or your primary doctor to make sure that that is something that's worthy and that is good for your little one to take, because you don't want to give them anything that might not be prescribed or recommended by your doctor. So definitely stop by, go with your doctor. But one thing that is very critical, if you start seeing this or if you're getting some of those symptoms, stay as hydrated as possible. The last thing you want is for your little one to be dehydrated.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, totally understood. And the last question I have is, of course, we're just a few days almost away from Christmas, and anything when it comes to health officials talking about staying healthy while we are gathering and we're coming up on Christmas.
Of course, they're saying the best bet is that if you know of someone who is sick and that will be at that gathering, or if your little one is not feeling so hot, if you're personally not feeling so well, try to prevent yourself from gathering with other people. I mean, right now it's a very difficult time, especially with this new variant. Omicron is now coming around. It's spreading very rapidly. We don't want to already weaken some of these people's immune systems by trying to spread any type of illness or cold that you may have additionally to what's already going on with this health crisis. So if you are planning to meet with those family members, make sure you're checking in with your health. And if you have any form of sniffles or cough or any mild symptoms that might potentially lead to something worse, definitely take some days to really rest and try to avoid those large gatherings, because of course We have some of our more vulnerable populations, such as our grandparents or grandma. And as much as we want to go and give them a big hug, give them a big kiss on these holiday seasons, it's really important that we're doing our part to try to prevent that contact with these people, especially if we're not feeling well.
All right, Abel. Well, good. My goodness. Thank you so much for following this topic for us. Of course, you stay healthy, and everybody else, you stay healthy and enjoy your holidays. But if you also want to have more on this report, you can find it on ktv.com.